Hello world, it is Tuesday, March 12th, 2024, and looking out the window it defines this beautiful sunny morning. Quite a bit warmer this morning than yesterday. It was 42, I think, when I took the dogs out for a walk. I think we're going to have some temperatures in the 60s today. The devotion for today is entitled A Jar of Oil, written by Rachel Hackenberg. And Rachel bases the devotion upon 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 through 2, adapted. The widow of one of the prophets cried to Elisha, "Your servant my husband is dead, and now creditors come to take my 2 children as slaves." Elisha said to her, "Tell me, what do you have in the house?" She answered, "Nothing except a jar of oil." And then Rachel writes, "Let's not pretend with one another that loving God means you will never be broke. Let's not repeat the lie that you are guaranteed to have plenty so long as you serve God. Because I'm not the only person of faith who ignores the 1-800 numbers of creditors calling. Bad things do happen to good people. Bad circumstances, bad relationships, bad environments, bad credit. And you're on the hook for dealing with consequences, regardless of whether it was your fault or not. It falls to you to rise to the occasion. Repair your heart. Fight the system. Reassess your budget. Use whatever you have and do the best you can, even if it's just a jar of oil. Devastated by the death of her husband, the widow now faces compounding crises. She is not well off. Prophetic work doesn't come with a pension and life insurance. The stress of calling creditors keeps her awake at night. And now the worst of all nightmares. They will tear her children from her, enslave them for their own profits. Her prospects look bleak, empty. She could run from empty, but to what end? When there's only emptiness, or the threat of emptiness, then fight like hell not to be alone, at least. Cry out to those who will listen. Call for community. Protest against those who would separate you from love and loved ones. Resist the despair that lies to you when it says empty means isolated or even unworthy. Bring your jar of oil and stay together. End the prayer. Let there be love and companions along this weary way, O God. Amen. Well, a couple things that came to my mind as I was reading this devotion, just how close any one person is to destitution, especially in our world, in our Western capitalistic society, where so many have so much and so many have so little. There is no adequate distribution of resources. And it just made me think about a friend of mine who has 2 children, the youngest of whom is a special needs child, and they're actually have physical difficulties, illnesses, things they're coping with, and which make it hard to work consistently. And so they're really just living hand to mouth. And while they get assistance, government assistance, that this person is only ever one disaster away from absolute ruin. And driving a 20-year-old car that continually breaks down to the point at which the car really shouldn't even probably be driven anymore and should be just scrapped. But there's no money available to purchase something that is better and drivable. There's no absolute resources. I also think of others I know who were doing well, and then some illness took hold, and because of the medical costs that were involved, their life is in complete turmoil. So many of us are one illness or one disease away from disaster, even with the ACA plan and with insurance. The fallacy with those things is that it resets every year. So if you have an illness in 1 year and you hit your deductible in the next year, you got to hit your deductible the following year, even though it's the same illness. Our system needs to change. And I guess that's the other thing that this devotion reminded me of. when Rachel called out for crying out to those who will listen and call for community and protest against those who would separate you from love and loved ones. Because so many people are in those situations and not necessarily as a result from any action they took. I have another friend who, after 27 years with a company, their department was eliminated and they were fired, given 3 weeks' notice that they were losing their job after 27 years of perfect attendance, by the way. They never missed a single day of work in 27 years. And yet, because of cost reductions, their life has completely changed. And their spouse was scheduled for surgery and they had to cancel it because their insurance won't be in place by the time the surgery was scheduled. So any of us, that could be any of us. It's nothing that we did or didn't do. It's just that's what happens. So I think the last thing I want to say is that, as Rachel said, bring your jar of oil and stay together. Find your people that will surround you and support you, commiserate with you, and in their presence, you'll find the presence of God, I think. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Yours may be different, and that's the nature of devotionals. And hope to talk to you again soon, and hope you can enjoy this kind of spring weather.